2017. That is why there was not a lot of people here today. I believe a lot of people in St. Petersburg stay at home and celebrate the New Year with their families. And on my left-hand side, that's the entrance of the New Year Fair.
我们可以看到俄罗斯的新年集市里呢，现在正在进行，好像是在进行表演活动。我们可以看一下他们到底在举行什么活动，进去了解一下。
There's a performance on the stage, and let's find out more. Let's go into the New Year Fair. Be careful. So this is the entrance of the New Year Fair.
因为恐袭的影响呢，今年的超市呢，今年的集市想要进入呢，都要经过这个安检设备。
Because the terrorist crisis happened before, so you can see the security.
我们可以看到门口像这些穿蓝衣服啊什么的，其实都是俄罗斯的一些防恐警察，他们因为在新年期间呢都着便衣来维持这里的秩序，所以可以说圣彼得堡的安全形势呢现在还不是很好。
So they not really dress in the
我们可以看到
uniform,
舞台上现
but
在
they
就有俄
dress
罗
in
斯
the
的小朋
same
友正
blue
在
to
演
make
出他
sure
们的民族歌舞。
the safety is guaranteed. And we can see we have children on the stage to perform. It's the ethnic
俄罗斯人是非常能歌善舞的，尤其在新年期间唱歌跳舞呢是他们的必备活动之一。
And Russian people are actually very good in singing and dancing, and of course you can see a lot of singing and dancing during the New Year holidays.
因为新年活动期间呢，刚刚保安虽然我们进来的时候看上去是很顺利的，我们往后走一下，摄像老师。
It seems like let's go into the New Year Fair.
You 我们可以看到这个小朋友非常可爱，他在跟我们打招呼呢。那这位老奶奶，拉斯姐，从美国的。
Can still have a lot of the boys saying hi to us.
我们也祝我们新年快乐。我们走，这里太吵了。
Thank you very much. The boy says thank you very much and Happy New Year to all of you.
那今年的新年集市呢？俄罗斯刚刚那个保安也跟我们说了一下，今年的新年集市因为安全考虑，在新年集市里我们也看到有很多小朋友，所以这里同时呢也不准任何人携带酒精饮品。
There are actually a lot of people, especially the children. Is here, so the smoke, cigarettes, and wine actually are banned. So let's tour around the New Year Fair in St. Petersburg, and we can see actually there are the merchants from old Russia.
我们可以看一下，你看，其实到处都是像这种咸鱼啊、烤肉啊。
They are selling special local products, and we also can see there's a salted meat, fish.
最爱吃的呢，其实就是肉。在他们的新年食谱当中呢
So the food actually very simple and direct. They like meat so much. Meat is always the key dishes on the table. You can see a lot of meat or meat-related products here. The salted meat or the cured meat. Let's see. All meat. So you can see how important the meat is for Russian people. The merchants so introduce that this is a bear meat. This is a real bear meat.
对，他说这个熊呢是来自俄罗斯的棕熊。那俄罗斯人呢，其实那个现在
So that's the brown bear from Russia, and this is the brown bear meat. Let me have a taste.
他非常热情，让我们尝这个肉。
I have a bite.
还是有点硬，而且口感也不是很好。
So the merchant is really nice, but to be honest, I didn't think the meat is really good for the Chinese taste. So the bear actually, in our language, in Chinese language, we think about like the bear market always is not a really positive word. But bear is a very good food in Russia. The parents always buy the bear meat for their children to wish that they grow up as strong as bear for the new year. So the parents wish their children as strong, as healthy as bear. That's why during the new year, the parents always will buy some bear meat, bear food for their children. So this is a must dish on the table for Russian people. So like the brown bear, because it's in a very large quantity, so it's not in the very high protected species or the high protected animal. So it's legal to eat brown bear meat, but you need to be really, really careful. If you buy some meat and bring back to China, you need to make sure that the meat or the bear meat you buy is not in the list of protected animals in China. So this is something you need to pay attention. So we can see different kinds of like deer meat. So that's a very important dish as well. It's very, very good in nutrition. And actually, I tasted some before. It really helps you to feel warm, actually. So this is also very good name is come to the end of the earth, because the meat or the deer meat, actually deer always live in the very near to the North Pole. So people living in the very freezing areas, they really like to have some deer meat that keep them feel warm. Let's also see, we believe we have some booths from Cuba. Let's see what they are selling. This is believe the special food from Cuba. A lot of meat, for sure. So I just introduced the merchant. His name is Dmitry. He's actually my friend. Grew up in Cuba, but he's Russian. I told actually this year's business is not as good as last year, because last year they can sell cigar, but this year because all the cigarettes is banned, so they cannot really sell that. They only can sell some food this year, so that's why the overall profit is not as good as last year. So I tried some brown bear meat, so you can see from my facial expression, not really tasty, to be honest. So for Chinese people, I believe, because the meat is actually dry and very oily and have some weird smell. Actually, the brown bear meat or the deer meat actually are not the frequent seen dishes for daily dinner table. They always just eat some for the new year, to celebrate the new year. And also the authorities also ask people to eat as less as possible, because we want to still protect those animals. So this is the artware, and this one, you know, originally I thought this may be for the Russian hot pot. Do you know what this is for? Have a guess. The artware. Actually, all these, you can see, all the ware here, they're all for cook the meat. Anything you can imagine is all for meat. Meat. Always the most important dishes. So this is also their tradition to eat a lot of meat and eat people, because Russia is really cold. For myself, actually, I like rice and vegetables. But if you come to Russia, make sure you eat as much meat as possible to make you strong and enough energy to work. You can see a lot of meat or meat-related products hanging in different booths. And here, this is the booth from Belarus. I just talked to the merchant, and this is the pork sausage from Belarus. Actually, the pork are grown and feeded by themselves, and they give them very, very healthy food to feed the pigs. So this is very healthy and clean food. And you can see you have a lot of the, seems like, because the white part is the fat, thing is a very, very oily or it's too much fat. Actually, this is something they must eat for the new year. And very tasty. Let's look at something besides meat. There's still like the sugars, sweet, and chocolate. A very good gift for children. Let's continue to see, maybe we can see the Chinese booth. Let's see what we are selling. Any Chinese food is popular in Russia. Let's see. I believe it's tea, right? Hello, where are you from? Guangzhou, China. Okay. So sell teas for the New Year fair? Yes, pour tea. Actually, ours sells very, very good every day. They really like pour tea because they eat a lot of meat. They need some pour tea to make them feel comfortable. Besides the tea, any tea wares? Yes, they really like to use the Chinese tea wares to make pour tea, so they like it very much. Thank you very much. We're from CCTV and CGTN. I'm really, really happy to see the Chinese booth selling very good. You can see actually a lot of people here is waiting to buy the Chinese pour tea.
Темный пуэр. Темный пуэр. Да, но светлый пуэр тоже есть большой круг любителей, и я отношусь к такому числу любителей светлого.
А вы были в Китае раньше?
Пока что нет, но есть огромное желание.
Да, и китайский зеленый чай, а вы любите или только кофе?
Да, я в принципе разбираюсь в китайском чае, изучаю культуру, чайную культуру, совершенствую свои знания, вот, и, конечно, знакомлюсь с зелеными чаями, с разными сортами из разных регионов.
А вам интересуется китайская культура или что-то?
Да, я интересуюсь китайской культурой, в свое время изучал ее. Сейчас времени немножко меньше на это, к сожалению, но я 2 года занимался ушу, вот, и учителя как раз-таки совершенствовали свои навыки в Китае. И привезли это знание сюда, и у них вот я занимался в течение 2 лет ушу.
哦，спасибо вам。那这位小哥跟我说呢，他说他特别喜欢喝那个普洱茶，他刚刚尝了一下，因为他觉得普洱茶的给人的感觉呢。
So I just talked to this young man. He says he likes the pu'er tea so much, and says I think the tea is really fresh, and think a pu'er after drinking pu'er is really good, especially after the meat. And also he heard like a pu'er is also can help get in the nice shape. So I also asked him whether he'd been to China. He said no. And actually he learned martial arts for 2 years. He actually knew some Chinese details. I really like to use Chinese products because in a very good quality and the price is very affordable. So he likes China so much. So let me also talk to the other people. I believe this lady just bought a pu'er tea.
Спасибо. С Новым годом. 那这位老奶奶跟我说呢，她说她特别喜欢中国的茶，她已经不是第一次买了。
Just talked to the lady. They says he loved Chinese tea so much. It's not her first time to buy Chinese tea, and he's also paid a special trip here to buy Chinese tea, and also he would like to give as a gift to her friends. You can see we should have a very nice sale. You can see a lot of people actually gathering here in the Chinese booth, so we are so happy.
我们可以看到这里还有很多俄罗斯的手工艺制品，但是呢，其实这些手工艺制品呢，
You can see we have a lot of the handmade works, the artworks. And actually, we can see what actually for Chinese products that's already sold around the world. Some people maybe have the different taste on the handmade works. Actually, you can see this is the honey. I believe this is from the northern part of Russia. The honey, actually, Russian people like sweet so much. They like something sweet. So you can see the honey, the sweet, the chocolate, not because of weather or the temperature. My friend told me a story to explain why people like something sweet.
Because plants producing sweets are mainly produced in tropical areas. Russia is located in cold area. It's not like the Western European countries. They are in good times. In recent times, even the noble people are very hard to get the sweet. We know that the rare things become luxuries. So sweets have become luxurious things for people to show themselves. For instance, if a host wants to host the guest, he would like to show his sweet. Of course, now it has not been so. The legend has changed. The tradition has changed. For instance, if I were go to a house of Russia, he would give us some sweets to show his respect for the students. Another strange thing in the New Year is that if you ask one Russia, the first thing he will think of when he celebrates the New Year festival, and 90% of the people would say orange. Why? We can see there are camels here. Camel is also the same. It is very rare for the camels to be seen in Russia, and the children were riding on the camels. So let's continue with this orange story. When I went to the Russia, when I was in the supermarket, we can see so many oranges. I wonder why. And a Russian friend said to me, as an old saying goes, the orange, if located in the southern part, it will be small, and in northern part, it will be bigger. So, but in Russia, in Croatia, may be a suitable place to produce orange. And in cold area, it is very hard for the orange to grow. Only when it is the New Year time can the people buy the orange. So there are so many people who believe that only in the New Year time can they eat the orange. But now it is not the case, and every time they can eat the orange, but the tradition has been kept. We can see this is the traditional coin of the Russia. This is the one thing I am favorite. We can see this is the traditional handmade coins among the youngsters of the Russians. There is a new way of celebrating the New Year, so they want to make a coin themselves. They believe this coin can bring them good luck. This kind of habit is deeply related with their medal culture. We can see on the coins there are different patterns like keys. We can see there are different types, very special types of patterns. There are zodiac symbols. Also, there are different characteristics representing the heroes of the Russia. For instance, you may also choose a symbol like the knives and axes. Actually, they can put on a mold, and this person can hammer down it. And when he hammers down, it should be fast and accurate. We can see that everyone is shooting this. From the 14th century, Russians adopted this way to make coins. He was saying hello to us by using Chinese. I also like to make a coin myself, so I would like to choose a pattern here. The most famous one is the pattern of St. Petersburg. This pattern is also very famous. It is the Bitcoin pattern. I would also like to have one. Making coins in New Year festival is also like the Chinese who knocking on the bells. It means that breaking down the unhappiness in the past and embracing the new year. The hammer is about 10 grams in weight. I'm asking the function of each side of the hammer. I would like to experience myself, and he told me to do so. Just as I said, you should be fast, accurate, and determined. It's so beautiful. So you can see that the Chinese culture is influential in Russia, though I did not have made a good pattern. It also has, he also gave me credit. So many people are gathering here, and they're mainly youngsters, because it's very interesting for them to make coins, and when they are on business, they would like to bring the coins. They also like to bring their coins in cars. They believe the coins can drive away the bad luck. When I come to the Russia, I was influenced by the Russia, and I would like to use the coin as a commemoration. For instance, the activities of making coins deeply related with the medal culture in the Soviet Union period. The government would like to grant different kind of medals, and 1 in 5 Russian people like to collect the coins or medals, and also the Chinese people, when coming to the Russia, would like to buy the coins or medals. So the Russian medals, like the Lenin's medal, has become a state-of-the-art treasure. And these kind of medals cannot be traded privately. So when we buy the medals in Russia, we should be careful of the rules and regulations. Several years ago, I have read a news report, and the Russians have bought the heroic mothers' medals, and when they went out of the Russia, and this overseas student was captured and was sentenced for 5-year imprisonment. So we should be very careful. And this reindeer is very lovely, and it has a thick leather and fur. The venison is edible, and also the reindeer is a very important means of transport, because the other vehicles cannot be used, and we need to rely on reindeer. And when I was on business, I had a documentary of the reindeer. It's very special. You can see the antler, and it has very good stamina, and it can work in the temperature of -20 degrees Celsius. Just now, there are some people asking, what about the temperature in Russia this year? I'd like to answer. My answer is that Russia is not as cold as the northeastern part of China. In cities like St. Petersburg, the temperature is much higher, and in North America, there are avalanches, but in Russia, it's a warm winter. There are no piles of snow on the ground, and the outdoor temperature is about 3 degrees Celsius. Of course, there are cold areas in Russia. It's near the North Pole, but for areas near the sea, they're very warm. But in the central Siberia and in Yak Republic, and that area has the temperature of -40 degrees Celsius, and the warmest temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. We can see there are different types of sweets here. These are the small sweets. These are the different types of sweets. It seems to be they seem to be beautiful, but they are very sweet. There are Russian chocolates. There are biscuits of chocolates, which are often the gifts for the children. I would like to give you some tips. For those of you, the Chinese people, the overseas students, they do not know that if you want to send gifts, you should make the number 1, 3, or 5. But it's not like the tradition in China, you cannot send 2 or 4, because only when it is in funeral can you make the gifts in double number. So when they receive the gift, they will be embarrassed because of, for the reason of courtesy, they would not like to point it out, but they are very embarrassed. You're not very familiar with it. This is the protective products. This is a kind of tea. Though it is a kind of tea, it is called a tea, but it is actually not made of tea leaves. It's a kind of drink. The plant is only grown in Siberia. Yuan tea is not a kind of tea that will affect your sleep. It's about 2 p.m. today, but the weather, it is nearly dark because it's near the North Pole. Yuan tea is very tasty, but it will not make you sleepless. So it's very popular.
Верба Богородица, огонь трава. У него есть много названий. Капуст, чай. В общем, это травяной чай. Существует, который с добавками трав и с добавками ягод.
Я хотел бы узнать, там написано, это иван-чай, это красный, это синий, это зеленый.
Да,
чем отличается?
Все с разными добавками. Допустим, этот без добавок. Тут с шиповником, тут с мятой и календулой, тут таволга, душица и так далее. Там натуральные ягоды.
Понятно.
Тут цветы ягоды можжевельника, ромашка.
Ромашка.
Да.
They're talking Russian.
Есть фильтр пакетов.
Понятно. Спасибо.那刚刚这位小哥呢，跟我们说了一下这个伊万茶为什么现在在俄罗斯这么火。
Just now, this gentleman has said to me that why the Yuan tea is so popular. Because it contains the vitamin C. It has different flavors such as mint and the flavors of different plants and flowers which have different functions. He said to me, he actually is very proud. He said that the Yuan tea is not from China, not from India. It's the unique in Russia. From the 12th century, the Russian people began to drink the Yuan tea. They're very cheap. They've been regarded as a kind of herb, and people like to drink it to fend off coldness because it's like a kind of some herbs in China. But in ancient times, the tea was very cheap. This little girl is very interested in us, and she's shy. It's relatively cheap product, especially in Russia. The poor people can afford it, and the noble persons like to drink tea from China. But the young entrepreneurs have seen it as an commercial opportunity to start up business, and they have repackaged it, so they have sold it as a new business. And in recent years, people are more focused on the health. They can help us resist two kinds of diseases. One is diabetes, the other is the high blood pressure. And here now they have added some more additives so that they have different flavors, and more more youngsters like to drink it.
Talk about the health. In the recent 2 years, actually, people pay more and more attention to personal health conditions. You know, Russian people really like to drink and smoke, but on the other hand, they actually bring a lot of impact to social issues. So, like the domestic violence is very severe issues in Russia. So to President Putin, also asked people to drink less and smoke less, and actually all different kinds of rules and regulations published. You can see for this year's New Year market is also fully, the cigarettes and wine is fully banned, and we only can see the warm or the hot wine is allowed to sell, and for the supermarket actually is not allowed to sell any alcohol or liquor-related drinks during the nights, basically from 10 p.m. to the next day morning. And if you go to the restaurant, it's not allowed to take out the wine or the liquor. So in Russia, a lot of efforts is made in this regard. So this is another, I believe, the sausage booth. Actually, it's really tasty, but maybe not really get along with the Chinese taste. I believe this is the booth from Czech Republic. And this is, I believe they're selling the sausage. So this is a booth for people to eat. I can believe they're really busy eating, really enjoy their food. Talking about the ban on the smoking, it is not allowed to smoke inside the rooms. And for the selling, actually, the cigarettes cannot really sell really publicly. They need to put the cigarettes in the closet or inside a cover. And it's not allowed to sell the cigarettes to the teenagers. And we can see the booth from Germany. For the young generations in Russia, they also pay attention to the health conditions. It's not seeing like Russian people just eat, drink, smoke. Actually, the cameraman is from Russia. It's Russian people. Actually, in the past, he drank a lot, smoked a lot, and also had a lot of fight with his wife. But right now, he stopped smoking and drinking because he says it's really bad for the health. You can see they like their president so much. You can see different kinds of caps with President Putin on it. So let's have a look. This is all different kind of artworks. So let's go ahead to see other booths. So those maybe the booths from different kinds of countries. There are more than 14 countries this year are gathering here, but they sell a lot of meat localized to the Russian taste.
这位那个大哥跟我说呢，他们是来自塞尔维亚的，然后这里呢，他们做的是塞尔维亚的传统美食肉饼。他说这个肉饼呢是用牛肉。
So this is cooked the traditional Serbian beef meat. I believe the burger meat. So you can. This is a traditional food from Serbia.
虽然也不能说是幸灾乐祸吧，但是看到咱们祖国的摊位人最多，还是心里非常开心。我们接着走。
But I always feel happy because they're the most crowded booth is from China. I'm so proud.
我们可以看到这里又是卖各种火腿和香肠的。
Okay, again, sausage. Sausage always the most important dish for the new year. So let's move ahead. Okay, let's look at this booth. I think they're. This is from Armenia. Let's what's they're selling.
他们说他们是来自亚美尼亚的，这里做的呢有马铃薯果酱，还有像
They are selling the jam.
就是用花生腌制的一些果酱。那其实果酱文化呢，在俄罗斯也是非常重要的一个文化，因为果酱文化跟俄罗斯的别户出文化。
The jam made by the peanuts, actually, jam is very important. It's also one of their culture, actually, in Russia. Russia with a very large landscape, but with less population. They really actually to pick up the fruit and they harvest the fruit and bring back home and put in the sugar and they put in the can to make the jam. Besides the jam, there also can see that's a fruit syrup. That's just a fruit and sugar. It's really, really sweet, but that's a traditional drink in Russia. And they also emphasize they're from Armenia, and that's nothing really the additional add-in to their food. Actually, everything is made in nature. And for the drinks, you can taste with water. So before in Russia, actually, they need to drank a lot of something sweet to make sure their body is warm. But right now, still, like people every year, it's one of their traditions to make some salted vegetables or the cured meat and make this kind of jam or the fruit syrup. We can see more and more people gathering around the main stage. And also right now is giving the gift to the children. And you know the winter sports, the winter game is the must-seen activities in Russia. So there's a popular, like skating, is very popular. We can see 80% of Russian people, skating or skiing. It's a lot of fun. And China will have 2022 Winter Olympics. If you have opportunities, please come to Russia to do some winter sports here. Like unlike Chinese boys, we really watch like a basketball. In Russia, the young generation like ice hockey and football. So the ice hockey is the most popular sports events in Russia, and their broadcasting actually they have more live broadcasting on ice hockey even than football. You can see a lot of people actually they send their children to school to learn ice hockey. So that's a very, very popular sports game. in Russia. And you're talking about skating, actually, they not really invite a coach or trainer to teach their children how to skate. They just do it in a very easy way. You can see they let their children know how to skate by themselves. They think they just do not really need someone to really teach, because maybe the coach give a lot of training or introduction. Maybe the children lost their interest in skating. You can see actually the people here in a very young age, they just let their children skate by themselves. And unfortunately, this year is a warm winter. So this actually is not a really good venue this year because the weather is quite warm. And now come to the end of our live streaming. With cameraman and me, we are very starving, and we'll go to the Syria booth to eat the Syrian meat pasta. Thank you very much for watching.